It seems pretty straightforward. I mean, it's life, it's experience, it's what I remember. And it's going great as I recall my own life and stories of family and friends. It's really great until I share those memories with my sister. I mean, here we are sharing stories together of family, remembering trips and birthdays, and lo and behold, she's always wrong. At times, it seems like, were we even raised in the same household? See, I always imagine memory to be like saving something on a floppy disk. You save it, and then you put the floppy disk in another computer, and there it is. There are the memories. And they should be just fine, just as I remember them, of course. It turns out that memory, human memory, doesn't work like that at all. In fact, the studies on this are a bit disturbing, to be honest, because we have these experiences of our lives, this moment that we're having right here, right now, and we are experiencing this moment, and we have these fragments of this experience that our brain is processing. The smells, the sounds, the texturing of it all, the encounters we have. But then, they're not neatly placed in the hard drive that is our brain. Instead, they become part of this internal brain ecosystem. And then later, when we are triggered by something, we recall it. But it's not neat and tidy. It's not like a video that we have recorded. No. It's actually a set of things that are being reconstituted. But they're being reconstituted now based upon what we're experiencing in that moment. The things that we've been through, the things that we've been reading, the things that have been on the news, the lunch we just had, the indigestion from last night. So that then creates our memory. This is why we have these arguments with our siblings. And it's not that someone's wrong and someone's right. I mean, I'm always right and she's always wrong. Yes. It's that we, human beings, keep memory in this ways. In fact, one of my favorite sci-fi writers wrote a great short story some years ago about memory. And in that short story, human beings got tired of this situation where people were misremembering. And so everyone walked around with a video recording device. And so then let's say you had an argument with your spouse. Well, then you put it on the TV and figure out who was right and who was wrong. But in this, like sci-fi does, in this story, what's fascinating is that actually things didn't go as well as you might imagine. There's something deeply human about remembering, about reconstituting, about experiencing. There's something deeply human about adults looking back at their lives and doing the kind of revisionism that we're known for. And so we really should probably not desire those recording devices after all. At the cornerstone of the ancient story is a constant reminder to remember. And in fact, there's also a constant warning to never forget. Something about this story and something about this God that is it's pivotal that this community called the Israelites remember. Now, we need to think together about what that means for these ancients. The Hebrew word is zakar, to remember. And it's not just a recalling into memory. It is a truly reenactment of the former things. One of the rabbis I read this week, in order to kind of help me understand this car idea, had a great little story around husbands during an anniversary day. It's really the story of two husbands. They both remembered, but one remembered in a zakar kind of way, the other remembered in a very English-centered, recalling kind of way. One of them, on the day of the anniversary, had flowers ready and a card written, had dinner reservations that evening for he and his spouse. They had an amazing time together. They shared stories of that day years before when they got married. The other rolled out of bed and saw the date on the calendar and recalled it and went, that's nice, and just went about his day. At the end of the day, they're both rehashing the daily events, and she says to him, I cannot believe you forgot our anniversary. He said, oh, honey, I didn't forget at all. I saw it on the calendar this morning, and yeah, it is our anniversary date. He remembered, but he did not zakar. So God tells these ancient ones to reenact. So the moment that these ancients in this circumstance heard this voice from this prophet, these ancients that are in the midst of a difficult moment in their history, they're in exile and they're suffering, they're struggling. They have now even forgotten what home was like. It's a different generation. They remember the stories, and there's this hope within them that things would get better, that there would be a better day. The empire was heavy-handed on them, and things were beginning to seem more desperate. And isn't it the case that often when we're desperate, it's when we begin to imagine a different day? And so they began to imagine a different day. And so this prophet, this truth teller and seer comes alongside them and speaks a word to them in the midst of their desperate circumstance where the future of the nation seemed at stake. In the midst of their current circumstance where the most marginalized in their own communities were bearing the brute force of the empire, in a circumstance where many of them were even forgetting that God was because of the difficulties that they were facing. And the prophet comes and said, hey, folks, do not remember the things of old. The things of old. The ancient things. Oh, the story of who we are, that God's image is imprinted in us, and that our ancient ancestors were chosen by God to be a people who were a light to the nations. The former things, that this disparate community of tribes became one people in spite of their differences, and then began to highlight this God that was the God of all creation. And then this group of folks then ends up in Egypt, and they become enslaved in Egypt. But in spite of all that happened there, God did not forget and sent a liberator, Moses, to free them from Egypt. The God that walked with them through the wilderness for 40 years and provided them food to eat and water to drink. And even though they were constantly complaining, this God kept them providing their need and guided their way into a promised land. This God who in previous moments of despair and anguish and finding themselves under the thumb of another power kept on reminding them to keep their eyes on Zion. Do not remember the former things. I'm about to do a new thing. A new thing. It turns out that just like many of us, these ancient Hebrews, were having a little bit of a case of the nostalgia. They were remembering the former things, yes, and they could highlight them for you as I have done to you in this moment. But in every moment of their recalling, they were just being nostalgic. They were saying, well, isn't it nice that God worked in those ways back then? Isn't it nice that God helped our ancestors through the Red Sea? Oh, isn't it nice that manna came down from heaven? Oh, wouldn't it be nice? Wouldn't it be nice if Jesus was still walking around with us, healing people? Oh, wouldn't it be nice if demons were being exorcised and bound folks will be made free? Oh, wouldn't it be nice, Pastor, if the thumb of the empire could be lifted up from the necks of those who are experiencing right now? Oh, wouldn't it be nice if the disease would find healing? If the people in the outskirts of society would find belonging? Oh, Pastor, I love these Gospels. Wouldn't it be nice if God would show up in the flesh and dwell among us, and we will behold the glory as of our Father's only Son? Wouldn't it be nice? Oh, church, stop remembering the former things. For God is doing a new thing. You know what that new thing is? Turns out to be the thing that God's been up to in the world. Friends, I have a concern in these days that maybe we've forgotten that God is. That God is still at work in this world. I think we have the case of the nostalgia these days, where we read amazing ancient texts and we think, oh, well, that's nice. And we think, well, that's it. It's good to know that maybe that happened a long time ago. Oh, in some cases, we might not even believe that God's at work at all, other than in a kind of heady, do-goodism kind of way. But friends, God still is freeing the bound ones. God still is healing the diseased ones. God still is calling a people God's own and saying, you are the chosen ones to be a light to the nations. God still is transforming our own hearts and our own minds in the midst of our exile, in the midst of our circumstance, in the midst of our hopelessness, in the middle of our despair, in the midst of our questions and our doubts. God is still doing what God does. The question is, can we perceive it? Can we perceive it? These days, I hear much about what are we to do. Friends, we are to do what we've been doing since 1866. What are we to do? Well, we're going to do what we've been doing since 2,000 years ago, when God became flesh and dwelt among us and then called us to be a community of reconciliation, a community of belonging, a community of welcome, a community of compassion, a community of empathy, a community of unending love, a community that dreams of a better day, a community of justice, a community of advocacy. That's who we have been for 2,000 years. It's who we have been in this particular incarnation since 1866. And is who the world needs in this very moment. So you, if you're out there today and you're in your own wilderness, in your own exile, look around. You're not alone. Hope is found here. Belonging is found here. Forgiveness is found here. Healing is found here. And then we, together, as a community of those who've encountered this God, this love, this reality of realities, then we hold hands together, and we are a powerful community of witness. Just like these ancient Hebrews, we too hear this new thing, and we perceive it. And then in our living that reality in the day-to-day of life, as we model this way of being in the world, as we zakar it, then the world will experience something. Our co-workers will experience something. Our neighbors will experience something. And who knows? Who knows what kind of life-transforming change we might be a part of together. That people call First-Plymouth, that people call the church, that people who've encountered this divine love, that people who knows that this God's still doing God's thing to this day. Oh, church, I know we can perceive it.